I'm Nicholas McIntosh, and this is my presentation on sensor technologies and their social impact. So my research question is, how does the ubiquitous use of sensor technologies and Internet of Things devices affect an individual's and society's privacy rights? But first we need to talk about what embedded sensors are and what they do. Simply put, they are an embedded network device that is integrated into the network. They have permeated almost every part of our lives, from smart homes to smartphones. And they become increasingly socially relevant as Moore's Law has allowed them to decrease in cost and size at the same time, and they've even become powerful enough to drive smart cities like Singapore. So let's revisit the research question. Are the privacy and security-related implications of such pervasive technology well understood? Today, we know what sensors can measure. It's fairly clear. We know they can measure stuff like location, they can track us in a more general way, they can figure out our political preferences and other favorite activities. But what about in the future? What if companies make sensors that can do more than this? Will they even disclose this information to us? It just all comes down to the transparency of the company. And is their impact in terms of privacy also clear? And then we have privacy, personal and financial security, independent thinking, decision-making, and free speech implications from the use of sensors. And are these values being compromised without our consent and or knowledge? I would like to develop a few perspectives with you today. My first perspective is, who is in control? In adopting the widespread use of sensor technology and its associated ubiquitous computing, what is the balance between influencing versus, or rather inform versus influence? So the perception challenge is brought up when you think about this. As sensors measure and perceive the environment, humans can also define the context to help these sensors analyze past behavioral patterns. In short, sensors gather, aggregate, analyze, and then predict or inform. Well, humans can help define the context that the sensors are taking data and then exercise judgment over this data that the sensors are giving. As a result, the humans can easily be influenced by data that the sensor gives. And that begs the question, are the actions taken by the sensors in the best interest of the user? Just as the media can heavily influence us, so can the sensors. And sensors can also inform our daily lives as well. We can see over here how sensors can basically, they basically surround us in every single part of our day. For example, the sensors using past and present behavioral trends may be able to figure out that a woman on Sunday night at 6 p.m. must go to a Chinese restaurant. But what if a set of excruciating circumstances dictates that the woman cannot do this on the same time at the same day? Which sensor will get the most reliable data? Which one will be the most secure? Which one will be damaged? Simply put, which one will be the most reliable, and how will it influence his or her decisions? A second perspective. What expectation of privacy and security do individuals have? In this increasingly connected and globalized world, is the right to privacy even understood by many of the users of social networks, smartphones, etc.? For example, Poon says in Singapore, City of Sensors, Singapore is one of the many countries testing the capabilities of ubiquitous computing and using sensors to monitor citizens. Their plan, as seen at the bottom of the screen, is Plan E3A, or everyone, everything, everywhere, all the time. And this brings up many privacy challenges, such as confidentiality and anonymity, social connectedness versus surveillance, and control over the harvesting and collection of data. But control is very difficult due to the lack of transparency. Information flows. We don't know how this data is being collected, how the data is being shared, or rather who it's being shared with, what information is being taken to this data, or the analyzing for trends and behavioral patterns, and the actions taken with the data once the whole analyzing process has been finished. Is it being deleted? Is it being stored forever? And it's not just privacy, but security implications that also can be introduced with the amount of sensors that we have today. Sensor-based data can track our presence and monitor social habits, giving us a surprisingly clear picture of one's daily life. And sensor-based controls are a very vulnerable exploitation. As sensors usually found in Internet of Things devices, these devices do not have the memory or power to use intensive security protocols, making them extremely vulnerable to attacks such as a DDoS or or are using unencrypted code, again, due to the lack of security protocols. And with the third perspective, do we understand the true value of our information? We can see how sensors build anticipatory intelligence to use our next move without our conscious mediation. And we can see how these sensors have predicted the interests, brands, and what these users might eventually buy. They exploit our weaknesses with situational context to influence us. So where to from here? What's the future of the man-machine interface? As the Internet of Things grows and ubiquitous sensors become more and more common, and with the ability to record, aggregate, and analyze every second of our daily lives, the age of ubiquitous computing will be truly realized. As Mark Weiser said in 1988, ubiquitous computing, quote, is a new way of human-computer interaction and post-desktop metaphor, and this will require the heavy use of wireless sensor networks. The social and physical implications brought by this are going to be very concerning and important. The current infrastructure must be expanded to support context-aware systems to make sure that sensors do not keep recording data all the time when people may not prefer them to. Privacy needs to remain an important conversation as well. And ownership of large quantities of data need to be regulated, and power constraints need to be addressed for improved security so that Internet of Things devices can implement good protocols to prevent the leakage of data. So what should we do as a solution? The solution that I propose is technology-enabled data collection and secondary uses that make us present in the world around us but do not take precedence over privacy. Public education needs to include words about privacy to make sure that users understand the value of their privacy and what giving up their data may mean. Ongoing social dialogue and debate needs to continue to make sure that the right to privacy and privacy-related tasks does not disappear as time goes on. We have seen this with the Cambridge Analytica and Facebook scandals and the revival of such talks. Transparency of use needs to be seen and regulated in end-user license agreements and terms of use to make sure that companies cannot go through loopholes in the law. And sensible regulation by governments needs to be put in place so that scandals such as, again, the Facebook scandal and Cambridge Analytica cannot happen again. Thank you.
All right. So let me ask you a couple of questions. Explain the level of certainty you have about your conclusion.
I feel I am extremely certain about my conclusion because the talks about privacy have been around since almost like the beginning of the internet. As sensors have grown, Internet of Things devices become more commonplace. The calls for privacy have grown louder and louder. And I probably couldn't have said I was very certain a few weeks ago, but thanks to the news events that have happened in the past few months, again, Facebook and Cambridge Analytica, I can see how privacy, it may be like pushed to the side, but it should never be forgotten, as otherwise companies will just continuously harvest data, and then when it breaks loose, everyone is going to just lose their minds.
Okay. So, how did you handle the different perspectives in order to reach a conclusion?
I handled the different perspectives in a multitude of ways. One way was to research them side by side and actually build like a sort of like a small argument for the almost not exactly no privacy, but like pro censor argument to know and like figure out weak points that I could attack in my pro privacy argument. And a second way that I dealt with different perspectives was just looking at some news articles and then putting on a small timeline to see how like the privacy talks have evolved over time, and that let me really pick out like some good examples, and that allowed me to give a lot of power to my pro-privacy argument, then also conceding merits to make sure that I could reduce bias and not seem like I was just rambling on about pro-privacy without mentioning the other side.
All right.